What's up everybody, I'm Derek, this is Rocking eForge, and today I'm going to be doing a Forged in Fire style competition with a number of bladesmiths here on YouTube, tagged in the description below. Now unlike Forged in Fire, this will be an 8-hour long competition, and that can be split up however we need to in order to get the project done. I'm working over the weekend, so I'm going to try to do 4 hours today and 4 hours tomorrow. Now given this is a Forged in Fire style competition, the blades will be forged in our signature style and must fall within the following parameters. The blade must be between 6 to 12 inches in length. The overall length must be between 9 and 15 inches. One additional material must be used in the handle construction, and we are not allowed to use power hammers or hydraulic presses to assist us in the forging process. Now this 8-hour period will not include tempering, and it will not include glue up of the handle, and I'm going to be using 5-minute epoxy, so that doesn't really make much difference, but I just personally don't have the time to wait a day or wait 2 days for my epoxy to set. Now the judging of this competition will be at your fingertips, and the video with the highest number of likes in 1 week will be the winner of the competition and will win bragging rights among the smiths involved in the competition. I think that covers everything I need to, so without any further ado, let's get rocking. My 8-hour time window starts now. Oh my god, why are you counting down this time? Now! While the forge heats up, I'm going to get my steel ready. And with the spirit of Forged in Fire, I'm going to harvest my steel from this big truck leaf spring. For that I need an angle grinder. There we go. That only took me 20 minutes. Piece of wood. I gotta figure out the wood I want. Alright, so normally I would forge in the tip, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna flatten this. Then I'm gonna butcher off a corner to put in the clip of this. I'm gonna make a classic style Bowie knife, and in order to do that, I need a clip. This thing gets off a lot of heat though. Oh my goodness, I don't want my arm over that. Alright, I'm already 40 minutes into my first hour, so this is going swell. I gotta make up some time, which is why I'm cutting this. 6 hours, 56 minutes remaining, and I'm finally starting to actually forge this thing. If I can forge this whole shape in the next hour and get to grinding, I think I'm in good shape. We'll find out. About where I want it. Now I need to focus on this. Then I can start working on the bevel. 90 minutes has elapsed. I can't believe it's already been over an hour and a half. This is exhausting. The clock adds so much pressure. I'm sure you're probably thinking, this is starting to look more like a sax, and that's because I'm going to spread the bevel, and this is going to curve out and give me a lot more width. Sitting right about 9 inches. So I switched to my lavalier mic because it occurred to me it might be easier for you to hear me. Getting pretty close to my preform. It's still very thick, but I can take care of a lot of that with grinding. Old adage, forge thick, grind thin. All right, this will be my last heat, forging the profile, and then I've got to start on the bevel. All right, so that's the profile. 2 hours has elapsed. So now I'm going to bring the rounding hammer in and forge in the bevel on this blade, and you'll have to watch it change shape. I want the spine to stay straight, so I'm going to be hammering on this back and forth. I'm just going to... It is so hot. All right, so I'm self-imposing that I need to be done forging the bevel and moving on to grinding in the next 22 minutes because I need to manage my time. Got less than 6 hours left. I'm going to forge in a bit of a false edge to this clip to try to correct the curve. Extra bend here. Working in this bevel. Oh. Now I'm kind of angling everything so that the bevel doesn't move too far off to one side. Try to forge in the heel here. So every time it bounces, that's when I haven't lined it up on the anvil face yet to be flat on the bevel. So it's bouncing because I'm hitting it at a weird angle. So hot. Turn the forge down just as low as I can, and I am not going to fall prey to one of the classic blunders, and I am not going to quench this 5160 in water to cool it down. I'm just going to wave it in the air a little bit, and then I'm just using the handle that I've got on it to do the initial grinding while it cools. Setting it on my anvil is not doing much for me either because that thing is super hot. Got a 60 grit belt on the grinder. Let's get rocking. I generally don't grind in gloves, but just to protect my hands from the heat, I'm going to make an exception today. My gloves are the burner. Wow, look at my handle is hot. This thing is so thick. Okay, I don't know how much of that I missed because my battery died, but I'm to a point where I think I can spin this thing around to get the tang worked in. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and use my guillotine butcher to try. There we go. This might be the first time I'm using these tongs. Now I can just leave the tong holding on to the blade because it seems to have a pretty decent grip on it. Hours has elapsed. Alright, so it's becoming very apparent that I'm not going to finish this knife within the first 4 hours of this 8-hour challenge. So I'm going to devote as much time as I need up to 3 hours remaining, or up to the end of the 5th hour, to finish the blade, because I think, granted, I underestimated how much time it would take me to do all of this, but I think I'm going to be able to do the handle in about 3 hours tomorrow. So, wish me luck. Let's keep rocking. Hard to maintain the urgency when you get tired. That's right at about 4 inches. All right, so that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for the tang. Straighten this thing out and do a thermocycle just to try to relieve some of the stress here. All right, so I have about 8 minutes to heat treat this thing to be within my self-imposed 5 hours. And I need to preheat my oil. Luckily, I fired up the forge a while ago. That thing is so thick, that blade. I'm afraid it's not gonna harden at all. 6 minutes. This thing's not even orange. I want that heat even. It's a little too hot to be quenching from. 3 minutes, 30 seconds. This thing's gonna flare up something fierce. So I'm going as deep into that oil as I can. All right, I'm gonna quench with a minute left. I got a minute 15 right now. Going until this thing is absolutely cold. This is so thick that any heat in the body is continually trying to temper it as I go. And that, ladies and gents, is going to be it for today. But tomorrow, I got to get this thing cleaned up, fully ground, and a handle on it. And I was originally considering putting a guard on it, but we'll see how good 3 hours does for me. All right, so it's day 2 of this knife making competition for me. This knife is all tempered up and ready to go, and I have just shy of 3 hours remaining to get this knife cleaned up, thinned down, and a handle on it. Restarting the clock. Oh. Ah! All right, so the first thing I need to do is grind this thing down because it is thick. So I'm gonna be working on profiling some more, and I'm only gonna let myself do this for about an hour before I need to move on to the handle. So that's all the grinding I can get done. I got less than 2 hours to get a handle on this thing. So I'm gonna do stacked leather and some leopard wood, and we're gonna forego the guard that I was planning to make because I don't think I have enough time. So let's go. First things first, I need to get some leather cut out for the stacked leather portion. I think I'm just going to do 3 or 4 pieces. I, of course, didn't bring any of my leather working stuff with me, so I'm just going to have to use my pocket knife. It's the right thickness so far, but it's not near deep enough. I have half of mine to do a burn through. But you got to be really careful with a burn through not to destroy the temper. Right side, this also softens the tang so I can actually drill a hole if I need to. Alright, 53 minutes left. I've got some 5-minute epoxy. And this is going to get real messy real fast. And since I said cure time is not part of the project and not part of the competition, I'm going to stop the clock for 5 minutes and take a break. And you are going to watch this thing cure. Just kidding, I'm not going to. That should be fully sufficient for curing time. I can't keep putting this off, so let's get back to it. Time starting in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I feel like it was a real disadvantage to put myself. I feel like it was a real disadvantage to myself to say that I would do all of the camera work inside the time. Like I'd reposition all of the cameras. I'd reposition all of the cameras inside the actual time that I'd be using to make this thing. I should have said that would be outside, but I'm kind of committed at this point. And it's 16 inches, so I need to take over an inch off. That'll put me right at just inside parameters. So I'm going to take this to the bandsaw and just let the bandsaw cut the end of this piece off. Alright. 14 3/4. Yeah. Went through a whole box of 60 grit for this project. That's all she wrote. It's ugly and it's wet, but it's done. Those last few minutes went crazy fast. I did manage to get an edge on it. Not that it's great, but it'll manage. Really not a ton of edge on this thing. Because this is so popular, we're doing a test. Here, it somehow punctured up there, but yeah, otherwise not a scratch. So I'm gonna say it will not cut, but it should be a darn good chopper. Certain parts of the blade are a little sharper than others. So it might not be the prettiest, and it's certainly not the sharpest, but given that I've never made a knife in less than 2 years, I'm pretty proud of this. You know, it's ugly, it's not very well polished, but I made it in 8 hours. That's good enough for me. Now, 8 hours was the prescribed time, so this is the state that I am submitting my knife for the competition. Honestly, this experience taught me a lot about knife making. I don't make a lot of knives, so this was a pretty decent challenge for me. And I've certainly never made one within 8 hours. So the fact that I got it finished, and granted it's certainly not perfect. It's only at a 60 grit finish on the blade. The edge is mediocre at best. Didn't have time to put a finish on the handle, but there was a lot of processes that I'd never tried. The burn on for the handle, cutting the clip in instead of forging it, that I ended up doing to try to save time, and it's because I saw them on Forged in Fire. And I'd never tried that, but I've seen it a number of times, and I think it did save me a lot of time in the handle process. But doing this in a even longer time period than on the show Forged in Fire gave me a lot of perspective. My skills aren't ready to go on the show just yet, but it really puts things into perspective as to how difficult this process actually is in that short period of time. Now that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you want to support me and the channel further, please consider becoming an honorary striker on my Patreon. Link is in the description below the video, and keep on rocking.